Welcome to the deep dive. We're diving into some fascinating passages from the Quran today, specifically chapter 6, expert speaker. You know this one, livestock or Al-An'am. We're going to pack these verses, see what's in them, what they mean, what we can learn. You ready?
I am ready when you are. Let's dive in. Chapter 6. It's got a lot going on. Creation, Allah's signs, what happens if you reject faith, righteous conduct. It's all there.
Every time I learn about the Quran, I'm amazed. Just so much to think about. Like right away in chapter 6, you've got Allah as the sole creator. It's really powerful the way it's written.
Absolutely. The Quran's very clear. Allah created everything. Heavens, earth, you name it, light, darkness, all of it. It's really stating his power. But it's more than just creation, you know? It's about his total authority. Like the verses talk about how Allah decides how long we live. He knows what we do openly and secretly. And ultimately, he's in charge of life and death.
See, that part always gets me thinking. Allah knowing our secrets makes you realize your choices really matter. But then there's that idea. He sends messengers, warnings, but he guides whom he wills. Does that mean some people, even with signs, aren't guided?
It's a huge question, actually. A lot of debate about it. Free will versus destiny. Not a simple answer. But in chapter 6, it seems to say that even though Allah knows everything, including our choices, he still gives us guidance through prophets, scriptures. But in the end, it's on us if we follow it.
Like that saying, you can lead a horse to water. It's a universal idea, you know. Free will, whether we listen to what we're told. And speaking of guidance, chapter 6 also talks about how some people, even when they see Allah's signs, they reject them. Why would someone do that? It's hard to understand.
It is a bit baffling, isn't it? But this idea comes up a lot in the Quran. Some folks, they see the signs but still deny them. The chapter doesn't shy away from the consequences of that, even using the fate of past generations wiped out for disbelief as a warning.
That's a powerful image. The past as a lesson, a reminder that turning away has consequences. Like we're not the first to deal with this stuff, which makes me think about the story of Abraham. He's so important in Islam. And chapter 6 really focuses on his search for the one true God.
Absolutely. It's vivid how they describe his journey. He looks at the stars, right? The moon, the sun. But then he realizes they set. They're not constant. So he figures even those amazing things in the sky, they can't be the ultimate God he's searching for.
It's such a powerful image, right? To question even those things, the sun and moon, like everyone sees them, but he looked deeper. That's real faith, you know, going beyond the surface.
Exactly. Don't settle for the easy answers, the idols. Search for truth, something bigger than the physical world. And this is key because it establishes Abraham's monotheism, a cornerstone of Islam. And the chapter even goes into his arguments with his own people. He challenges them, their idolatry, head on.
That takes guts. To stand up to your family, your community, and say, I don't see it that way, I see something different, makes you think, though, about finding your own truth, even if it's hard.
It does. And that's why Abraham is such a powerful model for Muslims, a reminder to hold on to your faith even when it's tough. His journey's like a roadmap. Faith often needs courage to stand apart, follow your heart, your mind, where they lead you.
So much covered already. Allah as creator, warnings, Abraham's quest. It's like we're uncovering the foundation of the Quran. But where do we go from here? What other big ideas does chapter 6 shine a light on?
Well, it builds on these ideas and dives deeper into this idea of guidance. And it really stresses the importance of prophets and scriptures.
The messengers. There's a whole bunch of them in chapter 6, isn't there?
There are. You've got Noah, David, Solomon, Job, Joseph, Moses, Aaron, Zechariah, John, Jesus, Elias, Ishmael, Elijah, Jonah, Lot, all in this one chapter. And here's something interesting. These figures are central to Islam, right? But they're also respected in other faiths, like Christianity, Judaism.
It's almost like a shared history of faith.
Yeah.
Like a common thread running through them.
Exactly. The Quran recognizes that. It's emphasizing that belief in one God that connects them.
That makes sense. So these prophets, they're not just individuals, they're examples, right?
Yeah.
Of righteousness, chosen by Allah to guide everyone.
Exactly. They brought Allah's message and showed people how to live a righteous life. But the chapter goes beyond just names. It emphasizes that what they brought, the scriptures, are vital for guidance.
So believing is not enough. You have to follow what they taught, the path they laid out. Action matters. Living your life according to God's will.
Exactly. Your actions have to reflect your beliefs. You got to make choices that show you're following the guidance you've been given.
Which I guess brings us to the Quran's emphasis on doing the right thing and totally rejecting idolatry.
Right on. Chapter 6 really condemns those who make up lies about Allah or say he said things he didn't, like making up stories about the prophets or messing with the scriptures.
Sounds like a big no-no.
It is. The Quran's super clear about this. You can't associate anything or anyone with Allah. It's called shirk. Like trying to shove another sun into the sky, it throws everything out of whack. That's how serious it is.
Wow. Okay, that analogy definitely makes it clear. So no making stuff up about God. No idols, period. Got it. But what does that look like day to day? What are some examples of the right actions that are encouraged?
Great question. And chapter 6 actually gets into specifics, particularly when it comes to food and what you can and can't eat.
Okay, let's talk food.
Yeah.
Seems like an everyday thing, but I bet in this context it's way deeper.
You got it. It's more than just filling your stomach. The Quran lays out what's halal permitted and what's haram forbidden when it comes to eating. But it's not just rules, it's about being aware of your choices, living ethically. For example, it straight up says no to eating carrion, blood, pork, and anything that hasn't been dedicated to Allah.
So it's not just the food itself, it's the intention behind it, right? Acknowledging where it comes from.
Exactly. Even something as basic as eating, it becomes an act of worship, of gratitude for Allah's blessings, and a reminder that we're accountable to Him.
That's a beautiful way to look at it.
Yeah.
What about the verses on livestock? Those always seem to stand out to people. What's their significance?
Those verses go into detail about which animals are okay to eat. And they stress how important it is to say Allah's name before slaughtering an animal, what's known as tasmiyah. It's about acknowledging Allah's presence even in those everyday things.
So again, it's the why behind the what. It deepens that connection between our faith and how we live our lives.
Exactly. It's not just a random set of rules. It's about approaching life, every aspect, even what we consume, with consciousness, gratitude, and awareness that our actions should reflect our faith. It's this really beautiful thing, intention and action, all woven together.
It's amazing to me how something like food, which seems so simple, can mean so much in the context of faith.
It really is. And that's what makes studying the Quran so enriching. You find those layers of meaning, even in the things we take for granted.
I'm starting to see that. We've covered creation, the dangers of idol worship, guidance from prophets and scriptures, living in line with our beliefs, and even dietary guidelines. Chapter 6 covers a lot. I have a feeling we're just scratching the surface, though.
Yeah.
What else does this chapter dive into? I'm ready to go deeper.
You're spot on. We've just started to uncover what's in chapter 6. And we can't skip the warnings, right, about what happens if you reject faith and about hypocrisy. The Quran's pretty direct about that stuff.
Yeah, that's where it gets really deep. What does the Quran say about those who, turn away from faith completely, or those who say they believe but their actions don't match up? It's something we all see, don't you think? That struggle to be genuine?
Absolutely. It's universal almost. And the Quran's very clear, real faith. It's more than just words. You have to live it. Your actions have to line up with what's in your heart. It's about honesty, integrity in everything you do, finding that balance.
Right. So it's not just going through the motions, saying the right words. It's about weaving faith into how you treat people, how you exist in the world. But chapter 6, it's not all warnings, is it? There's this element of mercy, forgiveness. It's like a balance to the more intense stuff.
Absolutely. That balance is key to understanding how Allah is portrayed in the Quran. Yes, there are consequences. We talked about that. But Allah is also incredibly merciful, forgiving, especially to those who genuinely turn back to Him, when they regret what they've done and try to change, seek His guidance, live the right way.
That's good to hear. That it's never too late, no matter how far you've strayed, there's a way back. You can seek that forgiveness, try to fix things, choose differently.
Exactly. The Quran saying Allah's mercy, it's bigger than we can even imagine. It's a message of hope. No matter what, you can reconnect with your faith, find your way back.
Accountability, yes, but also redemption. Everyone has a past, everyone has potential for the future. But it's not just right and wrong, is it? It's also about understanding that our experiences, good and bad, shape our faith. There was this verse really struck me. Allah tests us through blessings and hardships. Makes you think about how we see those good and bad things that happen.
Oh, yeah, that's a powerful one. It gets to the heart of it, I think. The good, the bad, it's all chances to grow, to learn, to get closer to Allah. It's saying, your faith, that's what you lean on when things are tough. Like a plant needs sun and rain to really grow. We need both.
So it's not about wanting only the good stuff. It's about how we face the challenges, how our faith helps us through them.
You got it. Challenges, trials, they can make us stronger, more determined, and they can deepen our connection with Allah. It's not about going looking for hardship, but knowing that when it does come, it can be a chance for real spiritual growth.
Having faith that He's got a plan, even when we don't get it right. Trusting that there's a reason for it all, even when it's hard.
That's it. That trust in Allah, His wisdom, even when things are tough, uncertain, it's a big idea in the Quran. Surrendering to something bigger than us, knowing we might not understand, but trusting it all has a purpose.
Kind of humbling, actually, to let go of control like that. But then there's that idea in chapter 6 about not questioning Allah's will, not acting like we know His reasons without truly knowing, like, don't speak for Him.
Yeah, exactly. Don't make assumptions about Allah, or even worse, spread misinformation about what He said. You got to approach faith humbly, knowing we don't have all the answers, and seek knowledge from the right places.
So, like, no gossip about God. Seriously, though, it's about being careful what you believe and what you tell others, right? Words have power, especially with something as important as faith.
Big time. Our words, they shape how people think, what they believe, even what they do. We have a responsibility to use them carefully, especially when we talk about faith.
Seeking truth, understanding, not just accepting blindly or repeating what you hear. Thinking for yourself is important here, I think. Digging deeper into your faith.
100%. The Quran, it actually wants you to think critically, to ask questions. Never stop looking for answers. Just believing without thinking, it's not enough. You got to engage with your belief, look at them from every angle, even question them. That's how you really grow. Doubt, if you handle it the right way, it can make your faith stronger.
So don't shut down doubts. Confront them, work through them. Use knowledge and reflection.
That's the way to do it. The Quran wants you to think about these big questions, to see what Islamic scholars have said, to talk to other people. All of that, seeking knowledge, really getting into your faith, it brings you closer to Allah.
This is all so eye-opening. I feel like we're barely scratching the surface of chapter 6 even now.
It's true. We could talk for hours about each verse, what it means, how people interpret it, and still just be getting started. But that's what's amazing about the Quran. It's timeless. It speaks to people across generations, different cultures, and it's full of meaning if you come to it with an open mind.
It's meant to be studied, thought about, debated, discussed, not just read once and then put away.
Yeah.
It's a living document that speaks to the core of what it means to be human, and to seek a connection with something greater than ourselves.
Exactly. It's always there to guide you, inspire you, give you comfort. You can go back to it again and again, and I bet every time you'll find something new, a different way of looking at it that means something to you, right where you are in your life.
You know, it's really amazing to me, just one chapter and so much in it. It really shows how rich, how complex Islamic thought is.
Yeah, chapter 6, it's like a mini version of the whole Quran in a way. It covers those big ideas. Who is Allah? Why are we here? How do we connect with Him? And it gives you to think about it all.
One thing I keep noticing is this idea of always learning. Like it's woven right into Islam, wouldn't you say? Almost like a rule to keep seeking knowledge.
Yeah.
Why is that so important?
You're right on target there. The Quran, over and over, it says keep learning your whole life. And it's not just about like facts in your head. It's spiritual too. Those who know more, they're held higher by Allah. It's like every new thing you learn, it's a step closer to understanding Him.
The more you learn about creation, about the world, the closer you get to Allah's wisdom.
Right. Think about it. The wonders of nature, how vast the universe is, how incredible our own bodies are. It all points to something way bigger than us.
So the more you see that, the more you want to learn. It's a cycle.
Exactly. The more you understand, the more you realize how much more there is to know. It never ends. It's beautiful, actually. Always growing, always getting closer.
It's like faith isn't something you just have. It's something you do. You make that choice to learn, to grow your whole life.
I love that way of putting it. The Quran, it wants you to use your brain, ask questions, don't just blindly accept things. To really believe, you got to wrestle with it, explore it. Even doubt, if you approach it the right way, can actually strengthen your faith.
So those doubts we all have, it's not about pretending they aren't there.
Nope. You got to face them head on. But use knowledge. Use your ability to think it through.
Don't just shut down, open up. That makes sense.
The Quran wants us to talk to each other about this stuff, to learn from the scholars, to really grapple with the big questions. That whole process, that's what brings you closer to Allah.
This whole conversation, honestly, it's been eye-opening. And I still feel like we've barely scratched the surface.
It's true. We could spend ages on each verse, figuring out what it means, how people interpret it, and we'd still be just getting started. But that's the thing about the Quran, right? It's timeless. People have been learning from it for centuries, and it still speaks to us today. Doesn't matter where you come from, your background. If you come to it with an open mind, you'll find something there.
It's not a book you just read once. It's a book you study your whole life.
Yeah.
You think about it, you talk about it, you argue about it. It's alive, and it makes you think about what it means to be human, to look for something bigger than yourself.
Exactly. It's there to guide you, to inspire you, to comfort you whenever you need it. And you know what's amazing? Every time you come back to it, you'll probably find something new in it, something that speaks to you right where you are in your life at that moment.
It's funny how chapter 6 ends. It's this reminder that all of this, Allah's message, the guidance, it's not just for some people. It's for everyone.
Oh, that's such a crucial point. It's loud and clear. Anyone who truly seeks Allah's guidance, they can find it. Doesn't matter who you are, what you've done, where you are on your journey. It's a welcoming message, full of hope. Like, come on in, let's explore this together.
It's a really nice way to wrap it up. Makes you feel like anything's possible. Like, no matter what, we can find our way, connect to something bigger. All we gotta do is, like you said, seek it out. Honestly, openly.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Chapter 6, with everything in it, it really boils down to the core of Islam, doesn't it? Allah is one. The prophets, the scriptures, they're our guides. And we're supposed to live good lives, be kind, and never stop learning. We're all on our own paths, but we're all trying to reach the same place, connect with God.
This whole deep dive, it's been amazing. You've been fantastic. Thank you. And for everyone listening, until next time, keep those minds curious.